Hello, this is Sudhakar Moparthi again. Welcome to Crowdsourced AI project. This project is about integrating other AIs and automate some of the tasks that we do in the enterprise. So if you are interested, please get in touch with me. All right, let's get started. Today, I'm going to talk about different levels of abstraction using IAM service of AWS. Let me share my screen. Okay, so when you open a AWS account, you can set up some users and groups and policies and permissions and make it available for applications so that the applications or users can provision the infrastructure. So that's what we're going to see today. So if I for crowdsourced AI project, I open a AWS account and I create some groups like developers group, admin group, and I create some users and I can create some roles and I can create some policies. So what is happening here? Let me just annotate. 1 second. I'm moving my Zoom controls here and there. All right. So you open an account, and for that account, you can create users and groups. 1 second. I'm struggling to get my annotation thing. Okay, all right. So here I created a developer group and attached it to that IAM service. I can also create other groups, admin group, QA group, like that. So now I have 3 groups. Or in this IAM service, I created John Doe user. I can create additional users. And these are permanent credentials. So I create a IAM user, provide them a user ID password, and then I can get them access to this account. Okay. And similarly, I can define some roles under this. This is administrator role, maybe another role EC2 only, EC2 only. And then I can create policies, full access to the account to administer, or I can create another policy saying only EC2 related access. So as you could see, so I just need to maintain these entities. Now we are looking at this structure or the relationships from at an AWS IAM service level, just at the top level, service level. These are the entities that I can maintain. So now what we will do, we will go inside user and then see from user perspective what it is like. Okay, let me go back. Let me clear this. Let me clear these annotations, clear. Then I am going to go back. Okay. So I'm going to open this object, service object. See, this is the IAM service. So we are using skillbanc app to learn the relationships and the structure uh, so that we understand the concepts. So when you go back and to your account, when you're trying to manage, there is no confusion, what you need to do, what how one is connected to the other. So now I'm going to look at this service. You have users, roles, policies, and groups. So I kind of created some sample data here. And so let's say I have I'm looking from a user angle. So now I have this user, John Doe, and so I'm looking at uh, this user and connecting to developers group. This user belongs to developers group. Okay, let me change the brush here a little bit. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this, let me clear. One second. Clear. Okay, so this user is also attached to, we can attach some policies to this user. So this user belongs to this group, and this user is having these policies attached, and each policy down the line, when we look at when we open the policy object, it will have all the permissions that I can do because of that policy. I'll get all these permissions. Okay. So this is what I call it as. Earlier we looked at service level, and under the service you have all these entities. Now we are looking at user from a user thing. So user belongs to a group, and so you need to have groups. Think of these as a bunch of lookup tables. Okay. All right. So now let's clear this. So now let's look at from a user group perspective, okay, what it is like. Okay. So user group, developers. So now in this group, who are all the users that I can see the other way around. So we can see from group to users. So let me draw some arrows here. Okay, so we have this user in this group, and in this group we can have another user. We can have 3 users. Okay. Now only 2 users because I removed one link. So now there is only one user in this group. Okay. And this group itself can have a policy attached. So we don't have to attach a policy from user anymore, because this user will get the policy and the permissions, because they belong to this group and this group has a policy. So in this way, excuse me, in this way, we can add another user and simply attach them to this group, and whatever policies that I have here will be automatically granted to them. So like that. So I'm maintaining this separately, right? So this is how you can directly attach policies, or you can get those policies through group. So we are looking at from a group perspective. All right. So now let's clear this. Now let's take a look at from role perspective. So I'm looking at one role, and this role has some policies. Why policies? Basically permissions, a bunch of permissions when attached to that role. So if I'm an administrator role, I will have full access to administer the resources. Administrator access policy. So I'm attaching administrator role uh, role to administrator access policy. So it's a very simple thing. Okay. So why we use roles? Roles generally have temporary credentials. So I can take up this role and then do my activity, and then I'm done. So it is not like permanently I'm given as an administrator. So I can define as many roles I want, and attach some policies, and I'm good to go. So that's what I mean by looking from different angles. So as we are drilling down into these entities, you will get more insight what we need to do inside each of these entities. Now, from policy perspective, if I have to see, so let's see. So I have a policy. This policy is being used by these users if we have attached, okay, and this policy again is used by these groups, and then this policy is also used by these roles. So I can have this policy is attached to this role or some other role, or this user or more users, etc., etc. So you get the idea. All right. So all we have to know at this point is we have users, groups, and policies and roles, and the objects that we create in each of these can be connected in bidirectional way. So a user can have policies, and we can also see which users are having this policy. So that way we are just maintaining these objects to control who will have access to what. The main takeaway for today is roles, temporary credentials are issued, and to the principal. The principal makes a request. A principal is who is a principal? A user or some application. And that application or a user assumes some role. If they assume that role and then do that activity, only for that period, temporarily, those credentials are given. Whereas if an IAM user directly goes without assuming any role, so that means whatever policies that they are having access, they will be able to do that. Okay. All right, let's clear this. Okay, we have seen these four entities: groups, policies, roles, users. And then when we go inside each of them, so the other way also, we can look at the data. All right, that's all I wanted for today. So showing through those C1, C2, I call these diagrams as C1, C2 diagrams because they depict the relationship among different entities, starting from any particular entity and what relation it is having with at the next level. So it's like a graph, directed graph, and you can develop this ontology as we are understanding about that entity more and more. And that's how we will be doing these sessions. And this structure, because it is structured, this can be exported as a JSON object. And if that JSON object is given to ChatGPT and then ask some questions like what based on that JSON, we can ask in English and then it will be able to give those answers. So we maintain the data and we understand the relationship among one another and we ask ChatGPT giving this data what the answer is, and it will compute based on that JSON object that we input. That's the way I'm thinking to implement to automate these things. Again, here I'm using skillbanc app to understand and explain the conceptual thing, and you may have to go back and when you read this documentation, we will be able to understand everything. So in the some of the previous videos, I have explained these things using ChatGPT. I have created those JSONs and we looked at the structure. So today we have actually creating that structure here in this app to see some sample data in this fashion. All right. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.